Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Johnny, of some call me Johnny, Brain Scratch Commentaries, and Super Gamer Brothers, and you're watching Megabeatman's True Blue Reviews. I like to do a lip sync there. It's like, don't forget it, True Blue Reviews. Alright, now where's my money?
Greetings everyone, welcome to part 4 of Sonic and Mega Man Worlds Unite and the final part of Act 1. And things are about to get weird. Last time we saw the two corrupted heroes mow down anyone standing in their way. We also learned Sigma's plan, absorb the energies of the two worlds to become stronger. He also planned on merging the worlds so that he won't drain the energies too quickly. Thanks to Sonic Man and Megaman, the merging's begun. The issue ended with Eggman and Wily's Fight Each Other program kicking in the moment the corrupted heroes saw each other. Let the chaos commence. We begin in the Lost Text as Sigma starts absorbing the energies through the Master Unity engine. He explains to Wily and Eggman that thanks to the two worlds merging and their energies, he will have better control of the Genesis portals and plans to consume every world in existence. And we have this beautiful two-pager of the two worlds merging with our corrupted heroes blasting at each other. As the two use their respective weapons against each other, both the Sonic characters and the Robot Masters recognize the combatants. Also, both Sally and Breakman tell their respective groups not to attack each other, for there are more pressing concerns like saving the civilians during this mess, and Flashman saving Sally before getting crushed. Dr. Light appears and spots Mega Man fighting Sonic Man. After meeting up with Sally and Flashman, they all decide to team up to figure out what's going on. Then a Genesis portal opens up and out emerges the Maverick Hunters and Team Styx. Okay? Right away, Sally introduces herself to X and hopes that he has some answers. Meanwhile, a federal prison is merging with the Chemical Plant Zone and the Marble Garden Zone based on this head statue. I should explain who is this prisoner with the glowing eye. Meet Xander Payne. He was a soldier who was at one time on Mega Man's side. Then he had a fateful encounter with Electman. This was during the Mega Man 1 story, by the way. Electman destroyed Xander's left eye, and it was replaced by a robotic one. The experience changed Xander. He now wanted all robots destroyed. He joined the Emerald Spears, a terrorist group who shares his ideals. His latest scheme was to travel into the past to stop robots from being created in the first place. But instead he went into the future, witnessing things like the first crossover. He briefly ended up in X's time before returning to his present and eventually got arrested. In his cell, he's been scribbling equations and images like Mega Man and Sonic. Back to the story. The reason Xander's robotic eye is glowing is because of his time travel experience. It creates a yellow portal and Xander enters it because it's his destiny. We rejoin our corrupted heroes beating the tar out of each other. And are those reappearing, disappearing blocks popping up? The two have had enough and blast each other with their lasers. This triggers a subliminal message left by the doctors, stating Sigma's responsible for their transformation and they should stop him. And we see them back to normal. Sigma witnessed them changing back to normal and immediately blames the doctors. But they're nowhere in sight. Yep, they were smart enough to bail ahead of time. Sigma orders half of the Deadly Six to find them. As Sonic and Mega Man recover, they see a gun carrier merging with a government building which somehow got in the sky? Inside, we have Team Dark and the mayor of Mega City. Then the mashup explodes. Oh, how tragic. Yeah, I'm not buying it, folks. Among the rubble, Sonic finds one of Shadow's inhibitor rings. Yeah, there's a story behind this plot point, but I'll save it for the comments. Both Mega Man and Sonic filled everyone in on Sigma's world-fusing plan. You can tell here that Sonic clearly remembers Mega Man. Of course, Mega Man has no memory of meeting Sonic. Similar to Eggman and Wily, Sonic explains the crossover to Mega Man, though I'm assuming his version's a bit more honest. It's only when Sonic greets Dr. Light and Roll by name that Mega Man believes him, and once again, shakes hands in friendship. With the worst of the fusion over, everyone gathers together. I should point out that we don't see Tails, Knuckles, and Amy recognizing the Mega Man characters. Tails and Amy might remember and we haven't seen it yet, Or it's only Sonic that remembers because he was at the epicenter of the Super Genesis wave along with Eggman. Anyway, the smart ones of this newly formed group can't disable the Unity engines due to their shielding. Regardless, they vow to stop Sigma and put things right. Sigma watches them and monologues how they won't find him in the Lost Hex. And even if they do find him, he has an entire army of mechanoloids at his disposal. Oh boy. Let's start with the supposed death of Team Dark and the mayor of Mega City. According to writer Ian Flynn, the then editor Paul Kaminsky wanted the stakes to be personal, i.e. have someone die. Ian was not up for that since the stakes were already personal. You know, with the whole worlds getting forced together and such. I have to agree with Ian on this one because all this does is force additional drama where it's not needed. Plus, it gets rid of certain characters for a good chunk of the story. Of course, the reason Ian chose Team Dark was because of the Sega plot armor, and he left some hints to their eventual return. 1. This dialogue here is spoken by Shadow, and 2. Sonic finding one of Shadow's inhibitor rings. Anyone familiar with Shadow should know that he would only remove his inhibitor rings if he was going to use all of his power. And I think we can put the pieces together. Now let's talk about the actual reason for drama, the worlds merging. I do have to applaud the main characters for keeping a cool head and handling damage control. Not to mention trying to get answers right away. Especially when Sally walks up to X moments after he arrived and asks what he knew. The fight between Sonic Man and Megaman. There wasn't that much focus on it, but we've already seen what they can do based on the previous issue. Plus, it's just a robotic version of Sonic vs. Megaman from the first crossover. Well, in Sonic's case that is, Mega Man's already a robot. Besides, the only reason for the fight was to get the blue heroes back to normal. Can't have them staying corrupted for long. This brings us to Eggman and Wily. First of all, if it wasn't for them, Sonic and Mega Man would have remained corrupted. Now, about this plan of theirs to have Sonic and Mega Man deal with Sigma. If the corrupted Sonic and Mega Man fought at the Lost Hex like the Doctors originally planned, they would have lost. Think about it. Sigma's very advanced. He would have turned Mega Man into scrap, and Sonic, it could get messy. Not to mention, Sigma still has the Deadly Six at his command. So yeah, the Doctors haven't thought this out. Thankfully, the Blue Heroes changed back in front of their friends and allies. Which brings us to this newly assembled army comprising of Sonic and Mega Man characters. I'm all for this lineup, except for these two. What does Comedy Chimp and the Beaver bring to this group? Even Big the Cat's more important than these two. I said a couple of parts ago that if these two appeared again, I'll share my thoughts. So here are my thoughts. Why are these two here? For the boom humor? If that's the case, Styx has plenty of boom humor to go around. In fact, why can't it be just Styx that accompanies the Maverick Hunters through the portal? Think about it. She's separated from her friends and meets X and company. It would be just the four of them that go to Boom Eggman's base and then to the merging worlds. When the crossover's all said and done, and assuming she remembers the experience, she'll probably blabber her experience to her friends. Being a known conspiracy nut, they won't believe her. And I would buy this. But with these two present, if you're a fan of these two, fine. But they're background characters. At least Styx could blend in with the main Sonic cast, and for the record, she does not comment on the main Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. Yet. On a related note, you might have noticed that this group's not that weirded out by each other's company. First, some of that weirdness probably happened when the worlds started merging. Plus, they have more pressing concerns like separating the worlds and stopping Sigma. Let's switch back over to Sigma, specifically the last page featuring his mechanoloid army. The heroic army have their work cut out for them because these things are no pushovers. Well, maybe the Baton Bones and the Jammingers from Mega Man X1, and the Paroroid from Mega Man X2. But the big guys? Oh, where to start? From X1, we've got the Bow Spider, RT-55J, aka the robot you have to fight to get the X body upgrade, and the Thunder Slimer. From X2, there's the Raider Killer. From X3, we got Worm Seeker R. Air Region comes from X4. X5 brought us Shadow Devil. And then there's the D1000 from X6. Dan's shooting returns to fully illustrate the issue, and again combined with Luis Delgado's coloring, looks nice. Especially with this. After giving it some thought, I'm giving this story a 7. Though it would have been a 6 if not for the explanation about Team Dark's untimely demise, quote unquote. There are some flaws, and there's still some things that I'm not a fan of, but there's still plenty of enjoyment to be found in this story. But we're not yet done, folks, because this comic is not only part 4 of Worlds Unite, this is also the 50th issue of Megaman. Isn't it great that a licensed comic can last this long? Yeah. Anyway, because this is the 50th issue, we have an additional story. So what story could work for such an occasion? How about some quality time between the two blue sons of light? We begin with Megaman trying to shoot some targets. He doesn't get them all, which leads to Roll recalibrating his buster. X arrives and compliments Megaman on his conviction. Megaman says that he's just following his function to help people. Thanks to the recalibration, Megaman's able to accurately destroy the targets. X then wants to join in on the next round. As the two shoot, X correctly points out that Megaman wasn't originally built for combat. This leads to Megaman briefly retelling how and why he became a super fighting robot, and thought about some of the opponents he's fought throughout his tenure. Both come to the realization that the fight may never stop. All X wanted was peace, and when Megaman asks about X's function as a Maverick hunter, X explains that when he first came out of stasis, there was no one else like him. With Dr. Kane's help, they started producing Reploids. The Maverick Hunters were made to police the Reploids, and while X didn't agree with all of their policies, the system worked. That is until Sigma started his rebellion. We then get a flashback of Zero trying to organize any hunters who haven't joined Sigma. X is of course shaken by these events and tries to offer a peaceful solution. Zero states that this has gone way beyond peace, and that Reploids and humans are dying. He wants X to find cover, but X decides to join the fight. Back in the present, Megaman is shocked that X went into battle without getting weaponized, but X explains that Dr. Light outfitted him with his X-Buster just in case. This prompts Rock and Roll to give each other this look. Also, no mention of the various armors Dr. Light made X. X then credits Rock for continuing the fight, saying that at one time he gave up. Plus, he was going through a severe whiny phase at the time.
Why must Reploids continue this accursed cycle of aggression?
Still, X compliments Rock for sticking with his choice to fight despite being governed by his programming. Rock again points out that he was made to help people, and with threats like Wily and robot terrorists out there, it makes sense. Roll points out something X said earlier, that Light built X. X confirms this fact and admits that it was a slip-up, although he considered telling Dr. Light not to build him because no X, no Reploids, no Mavericks, and no war. Rock says that's a stupid idea, going on to explain that there might be hidden threats like the Wily Walker in this time. Wait, when did they share their experiences with that deadly machine? Anyway, Rock goes on stating that if he's not around in the future to protect people, he'll feel a lot better knowing that X is.
It's good to know there's a real hero protecting the future.
The conversation ends with Rock invoking the Big Brother card, and tells X not to talk like that anymore. Zero and Breakman arrive to bring the trio into the war room, and this story ends with our blue robots both asking if they fought the red guy, with both answering yes, but it's complicated. Laughing about decisive battles. I bet you anything that fans of the Megaman comic series expected this meeting when the Dawn of X arc was announced. Anyway, this meeting is not the only time Megaman and X encountered one another in official media. The first was the Ruby Spears cartoon episode, Mega X. And someday, I hope to take a look at that episode. If you want to count this one, the Brazilian Megaman comic had Megaman and Roll meet X. Then there's the end of the 4th and final issue of the Dreamwave comic. Which reminds me, I need to get around to reviewing issue 2. Anyway, let's focus on this meeting. Megaman and X sharing their backstories works because not only does it give them some bonding moments, it lets readers not familiar with any Megaman series get familiar with these characters. It also helps illustrate the tonal difference between the classic and X series. Heck, even the dialogue illustrates this difference. Despite going through numerous hardships, Mega Man remains lighthearted and optimistic. Granted, he's only experienced events up to Mega Man 3, plus a few original conflicts. X had to have at least gone through 7 game events, and who knows what original adventures he's had. Besides this one. But again, how did Mega Man know about the experience between X and the Wily Walker? Did they briefly talk about it off screen before the target practice? Anyway, X lets it slip up that Dr. Light also built him. One danger of traveling into the past is accidentally revealing future information and changing the timeline, so I understand why X wanted to withhold this information. At the same time, he considered going to Dr. Light and telling him not to build him. Think about that one, folks. X considered retroactive suicide to prevent the creation of the Reploids and to stop the Maverick Wars before it happened. Just for the sake of argument, let's assume Light didn't build X, which in turn would prevent Reploids like Sigma and Vile from coming into being. That's not going to solve the problem entirely. Remember, Zero was built independently by Dr. Wily and later sealed. Someone would discover the capsule, or Zero would break out like before and cause some trouble. And even if the people in the altered timeline stop him, they might be tempted to study his technology and mass-produce beings like him. Plus, there's still the Maverick virus to contend with. Thankfully, Mega Man convinced X not to go through with it. And I do like that X wasn't completely mopey here. He complimented and even envied Mega Man for continuing to fight for everlasting peace. Plus, in that flashback set before the first X game, he did volunteer to fight. We have the appearance of these two at the end. And yes, red robots with yellow flowing down them. Ah, symbolism. Yes, a blue robot fought a red robot for complicated reasons. Mega Man fought Breakman 3 different times, and after the final time, Breakman began reconsidering his treatment of Mega Man. With X and Zero, their fight might refer to the climactic battle in X5, though the fight happened based on certain scenarios. Zero could have been under the influence of the Zero virus, or he refused to return to base when X asked him to. There's also the possibility of this fight from X2, which again is based on certain circumstances, i.e. whether or not X got all of Zero's body parts or not. The art here is done by Powie, frequent artist for the Mega Man comics, but the colorist is once again Luis Delgado. For this story, I'm giving it a 9. Despite the plot hole involving the Wily Walker, I enjoyed this story a lot. It's a perfect way to celebrate Mega Man's 50th issue by having some bonding time with his younger brother over similar experiences. Sometimes you need to halt the action for some character moments. We're 1/3 of the way done with the crossover, and the heroes have united. Where do they go from here? What does Sigma have planned next? How will Eggman and Wily escape? Hopefully we'll find out in Part 5. Until then, have a good day, and be safe. And yes, I'll be getting around to the first battle book soon. So Xander can create portals with his eye. Boy, GLaDOS would love to get her testing hands on him.